Welcome back, everyone, to another exciting episode. Today, we're diving into a challenge that almost everyone faces at some point: the fear of speaking English. You know that feeling when your heart races, your mind goes blank, and suddenly, even the simplest words feel impossible to say.
Oh, I've been there, Adam. It's like being stuck in a mental traffic jam, right? You want to speak, but all the self-doubt and worries just pile up. But guess what? You're not alone. We've all been through it, and today we're here to show you that overcoming this fear is totally doable.
Absolutely. By the end of this episode, you'll not only understand why this fear happens, but also learn powerful strategies to break free and start speaking confidently. So whether you're scared of making mistakes, worried about your accent, or just afraid of sounding silly, stick with us.
Trust me, you won't want to miss this. We're sharing real stories, practical tips, and a few secrets that helped us overcome our own fears. So, get comfortable, grab a cup of tea, and let's crush that fear of speaking English together.
All right, let's get into it. Why is it that so many people, even those who've been studying English for years, still freeze up when it's time to actually speak?
Great question, Adam. It all comes down to one main thing: fear of judgment. People are afraid they'll be laughed at, misunderstood, or seen as less capable because they might make a mistake or have an accent.
Exactly. But here's the thing. It's not just about the language itself. It's about our mindset when we speak it. Think about it. When you're nervous, your focus shifts from what you want to say to how others are going to react. And that's when the self-doubt kicks in, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's like having an inner critic on your shoulder whispering, "Don't mess up." What if you use the wrong word? It's exhausting, and it holds you back.
Totally. And here's something surprising. A lot of people feel this fear because they set unrealistically high expectations for themselves. They want to speak like a native, sound flawless, and never make a mistake. But that's not realistic. Even native speakers stumble over their words.
So true, Adam. I remember when I first started speaking English, I was so obsessed with perfection that I avoided speaking altogether. I thought, if I can't sound perfect, what's the point? But in reality, the only way to get better is to make those mistakes and learn from them.
Exactly. The fear comes from this pressure to be perfect, to impress others, instead of just focusing on expressing yourself. And here's a key takeaway. It's okay to not be perfect. The goal is to communicate, not to compete.
Right. So, to anyone listening who feels this fear, remember, it's not just about your English skills. It's about mindset, expectations, and self-judgment. Once you identify these root causes, you can start working to change them. You know, Adam, I think one of the most powerful ways to overcome fear is by hearing from others who've been through it. We're not born confident English speakers. We all start somewhere. What's one experience that really stands out for you?
Oh, I remember this vividly. When I first moved to an English-speaking city, I was terrified of speaking in public. There was this one time I walked into a cafe wanting to order a coffee. The barista asked, "What can I get for you?" And I just froze. My mind went blank. I knew what I wanted to say, but I kept thinking, what if I say it wrong? So I ended up just pointing at the menu.
I've been there. It's that moment when your vocabulary disappears, right? I had a similar experience during a job interview. I prepared for days, but the second the interviewer asked me a question, I panicked. I stumbled over my words, and my mind was racing with thoughts like, what if I mess up? What if I sound dumb? It was a nightmare.
Exactly. And what's crazy is, the fear wasn't because we didn't know the language. It was because we were more focused on avoiding mistakes than on communicating. That fear of being judged, It just takes over.
Right. And here's the turning point for me. After that interview, I realized I needed to stop obsessing over how people would perceive me. Instead, I decided to start small. I began talking to myself in English at home, describing my day, my plans, just to get comfortable hearing myself speak. Slowly, I built up my confidence.
I love that approach, Sophia. For me, it was about shifting my mindset, too. One day I told myself, okay, I'm going to make at least one mistake today, and I'm going to be okay with it. I remember speaking to a stranger and totally messing up a sentence, but instead of feeling embarrassed, I laughed it off. And you know what? The other person just smiled and kept the conversation going.
That's such a game changer. Once you stop treating mistakes like disasters, they lose their power over you. The other day, I mispronounced a word during a presentation, but instead of freaking out, I corrected myself and kept going. I could see people in the audience nodding along, and that's when I realized they weren't judging me. They were rooting for me.
Exactly. It's all in how we react. People don't care about minor slip-ups. They care about the message you're trying to share. So, to anyone listening, remember, we've all been there, frozen with fear, worried about judgment. But it's possible to break free from that fear. We did, and so can you.
Absolutely. If you're struggling with this, start small, embrace mistakes, and keep pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. Those little victories add up, and one day, you'll look back and realize that fear isn't as big as it used to be.
All right. Now that we've shared our personal stories, let's dive into the how. Sophia, what's the first strategy that really made a difference for you when you were battling that fear of speaking English?
One of the most effective things I did was to start with baby steps. I realized I didn't have to dive into long, complex conversations right away. I began with something super simple, like greeting people in English. Just saying, "Hi, how are you?" to strangers in a park or to the cashier at a store.
That's a fantastic approach. Small wins build confidence, right? I did something similar. Instead of trying to sound perfect, I focused on communicating one clear idea each day. Even if I stumbled, my goal was just to get my point across, not impress anyone.
Exactly. And here's another strategy that works wonders: shadowing. Have you tried it?
Oh, yes. For those who aren't familiar, shadowing is when you listen to someone speaking English, whether it's a podcast, a YouTube video, or a show, and you repeat what they're saying out loud in real time. It helps train your mouth to pronounce words correctly and boosts your fluency.
Right. When I was too scared to speak to others, I'd put on a podcast and shadow the host. It felt like a safe way to practice without the fear of judgment. Plus, you get to mimic the natural flow of conversation.
Another one that really helped me is what I call the mistake mindset shift. You have to expect to make mistakes and even look forward to them. I started keeping a mistake journal. Every time I made a mistake, I'd write it down, then next to it, I'd write what I learned from it. It turned mistakes into learning opportunities instead of setbacks.
I love that. That's such a powerful mindset shift. Here's another. Talk to yourself. It might sound silly, but it works. I'd have full-blown conversations with myself. In the mirror, while cooking, even while walking. It's a great way to build confidence when no one's around to judge.
Totally agree. It also helps with thinking in English instead of translating from your native language. The more you talk to yourself, the more natural it becomes.
Yes, and once you're ready, start speaking in English everywhere. At work, at social gatherings, even on social media. Create situations where you have to use English. And if you can, find a language buddy, someone who's also learning. Practicing together can take the pressure off and make it more fun.
Great point. I'd also add, surround yourself with English as much as possible. Change your phone's language settings to English. Watch English shows with subtitles. Read English articles. The more you immerse yourself, the more comfortable you'll feel speaking.
Absolutely. And don't forget, celebrate small wins. Spoke up in a meeting for the first time. High-five yourself. Had a 2-minute conversation without panicking. That's huge. Reward yourself for these victories because they're signs of real progress.
That's key, Sophia. It's easy to focus on what you can't do yet, but celebrating what you can do keeps you motivated. So, to sum up, start small, embrace mistakes, shadow speakers, talk to yourself, and surround yourself with English. You'll see that fear slowly melt away.
All right, so we've talked about strategies, but let's be honest, Adam, none of these will work if you don't have the right mindset. I mean, it all starts in your head, right?
Absolutely, Sophia. Your mindset is the foundation. If you go into every conversation thinking, I'm going to fail, guess what? You probably will. But if you shift that mindset to, I might make mistakes, but I'm here to learn and grow, everything changes.
Yes. It's like what they say, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. Most of the fear of speaking English isn't about the language itself. It's about our thoughts and beliefs around it. If you see yourself as someone who struggles with English, that's exactly what you'll be. But if you start seeing yourself as a confident communicator, you're already halfway there.
So true. One thing that helped me was adopting a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset. You've probably heard this before, but here's the difference. A fixed mindset says, I'm just bad at English, while a growth mindset says, I'm not good yet, but I'm improving every day. That little shift makes a massive difference.
Absolutely. And here's another mindset hack. Reframe your nerves as excitement. When you're nervous, your heart beats faster, your palms get sweaty. It's the same physical response you feel when you're excited. So, before speaking, tell yourself, I'm not nervous. I'm excited to share what I know. It tricks your brain into seeing the situation as a positive challenge rather than a threat.
I love that. And here's something else. Stop aiming for perfection. Perfection is a trap. It's what causes us to overthink every word, pause too much, or even give up altogether. Instead, aim for progress. Celebrate every small improvement, no matter how tiny it seems.
Yes. And remember, everyone has a unique voice and way of speaking. Trying to sound like someone else only adds pressure. Instead, focus on being yourself. Authenticity is far more powerful than flawless grammar. People connect with you, not just the words you say.
Exactly. And another mindset shift is embracing discomfort. Look, every time you push yourself to speak English, it's going to feel awkward and uncomfortable at first. But that discomfort is a sign that you're growing. It means you're stepping outside your comfort zone, and that's where real progress happens.
Absolutely. I always tell myself, discomfort is temporary, but growth is permanent. So instead of running from that awkward feeling, lean into it. Because on the other side of that discomfort is the confident speaker you want to become.
Great point. And here's another thing. Visualization. It sounds simple, but it's powerful. Take a moment each day to close your eyes and imagine yourself speaking English fluently. Picture yourself handling conversations confidently, smiling, and even enjoying it. When you visualize success, you train your brain to believe it's possible.
That's brilliant, Adam. I used to do this before any big presentation. I'd close my eyes and see myself speaking confidently, making eye contact, and answering questions without hesitation. It made a huge difference. When you see yourself as successful, your brain starts to work towards making that vision a reality.
Exactly. So, to all our listeners, if you take one thing away from this part, let it be this. Your mindset shapes your reality. If you see English as an obstacle, it will feel impossible to overcome. But if you see it as an opportunity, a chance to grow, connect, and express yourself, then fear has no choice but to fade away.
Yes. So start telling yourself a different story. Instead of saying, I'm terrible at English, try saying, I'm getting better every day. Replace, what if I mess up? With, what if I learn something new? Flip the script in your head and watch how your fear transforms into confidence.
Okay, now that we've talked about mindset, let's move on to some practical exercises. These are tools you can use daily to chip away at that fear and build real, lasting confidence in your English speaking skills. Ready, Sophia?
Absolutely. Let's start with one of my favorites, the 2-minute talk exercise. It's super simple but really effective. Pick any topic. It could be your favorite movie, your day, or even something random like why cats are better than dogs. And speak about it non-stop for 2 minutes. No pauses, no overthinking, just let the words flow.
Yes. The goal here isn't perfection. It's about getting comfortable speaking continuously. Even if you stumble or get stuck, just keep talking. This helps train your brain to think in English without the pressure of getting it all right.
Exactly. And if you want to challenge yourself, record it. Then listen back, but not to criticize yourself. Listen to see where you naturally pause, or if there are words you struggle with. This helps you identify areas to work on without judging yourself.
That's a great exercise, Sophia. Another one I highly recommend is the mirror practice. Stand in front of a mirror and talk to yourself for a few minutes every day. Describe what you're wearing, how your day went, or even have an imaginary conversation with yourself. This exercise not only helps with fluency, but also builds self-confidence by making you more comfortable with your own voice and expressions.
I love mirror practice. It's like having a rehearsal before the real performance. Plus, it helps you get used to seeing yourself speak English, which is a confidence booster on its own. Here's another exercise. Tongue twisters. They might sound like a game, but they're amazing for improving pronunciation and overcoming hesitation.
Absolutely. Try saying, she sells seashells by the seashore, or red lorry, yellow lorry, 5 times fast. These exercises help loosen up your mouth muscles and make speaking English feel more natural. Start slowly, then pick up speed as you get comfortable.
Yes. And here's a more advanced exercise. Role-playing conversations. Choose a situation you often find challenging, like ordering food, answering interview questions, or making small talk. Write down a few key phrases and practice out loud. You can even switch roles if you're doing this with a partner.
Role-playing is fantastic because it lets you practice real-life situations in a safe environment. If you're by yourself, pretend to be both people in the conversation. Ask a question and then respond to it. This way, you're preparing your brain for similar situations in the future.
Definitely. And if you want to take it up a notch, try the speak in paragraphs technique. Instead of giving one-sentence answers, try to expand your response into a full paragraph. For example, if someone asks you, "How was your weekend?" don't just say, "It was good." Talk about why it was good, what you did, who you met. Add as much detail as possible. This exercise helps build fluency and makes you a more engaging speaker.
I like that one, Sophia. It forces you to think beyond short responses and really engage with the language. And here's another powerful exercise, the daily journal. Write a short journal entry in English every day. Describe your thoughts, feelings, or plans. Then, read it out loud. This not only improves your writing, but also your spoken English, as you're practicing thinking and speaking in English simultaneously.
Absolutely. And don't worry about making it perfect. It's about expressing your thoughts clearly and naturally. And speaking of expressing thoughts, here's a fun exercise. The what-if game. Pick any scenario and ask yourself what-if questions, like, what if I lived in a different country? Or, what if I had superpowers? This helps you practice creating sentences and engaging in creative thinking.
That sounds fun. It's a great way to loosen up and get comfortable speaking spontaneously. Finally, here's my top recommendation. Practice with a language partner. Whether it's a friend, a family member, or someone you meet online, having regular conversations with another person is the best way to beat that fear. The more you speak, the less intimidating it becomes.
Absolutely. A language partner can also give you feedback and help you see your progress. But remember, choose someone who's supportive and patient, not someone who'll make you feel judged or rushed. This is about building confidence, not perfection.
Exactly. So, to all our listeners, start with these exercises. Pick one or two that resonate with you and commit to practicing them daily. You'll see your confidence and fluency grow week by week.
And the key here is consistency. Just like going to the gym, you won't see results overnight. But keep showing up, and little by little, you'll notice that fear shrinking. The more you practice, the more speaking English becomes second nature.
Exactly. So, start small, stay consistent, and keep challenging yourself.
All right, Adam. So we've talked about strategies and exercises, but let's address the elephant in the room. Excuses. We've all made them, right? When it comes to speaking English, it's easy to find reasons to avoid it.
Absolutely. And most of these excuses feel so real at the moment. But here's the thing. They're often just barriers we create to stay in our comfort zones. So today, let's break down some of the most common ones and share how to overcome them. What's the first excuse on your list, Sophia?
Let's start with the classic. I don't have anyone to practice with. This is one I hear all the time. People think that without a language partner, they can't improve.
Oh, totally. But here's the thing. You don't need a partner to start practicing. We've already shared several exercises like mirror practice, the 2-minute talk, and self-conversation techniques. And if you really want someone to speak to, try joining online language communities, forums, or apps like Tandem or HelloTalk.
Exactly. You can even leave voice notes for yourself or record videos and analyze them later. The key is to get comfortable with your own voice and thoughts in English, so when you do find a practice partner, you're already ahead of the game.
Great point. All right, here's another big one. I'm afraid people will laugh at me. This one stops so many people from even trying. How do you handle it, Sophia?
Oh, I've been there. And it's a tough one. But here's the truth. Most people aren't going to laugh at you. Think about it. When was the last time you laughed at someone who was genuinely trying to learn? People actually respect and appreciate your effort more than you think. But if you're really worried, start in low-risk environments. Practice with people who are supportive or even with strangers who you'll never see again.
Exactly. And remember, even if someone does laugh, it's a reflection of their mindset, not your skills. Flip the script in your head. Instead of seeing it as embarrassment, see it as a story to tell when you become fluent. Imagine saying, "Yeah, I used to struggle a lot, but look at me now."
I love that. It's all about rethinking how you interpret those moments. All right, next excuse. I don't have time to practice. This is one of the most common ones. What do you say to that, Adam?
Here's what I say. If you have time to scroll through social media, you have time to practice. The truth is, you do have time, but it's about making it a priority. You don't need hours. Even 10 minutes a day is enough to see progress if you're consistent. Practice during your commute while cooking or even in the shower. Turn idle time into practice time.
Yes, make English a part of your daily routine. Switch to English podcasts, change your phone settings to English, or write your to-do list in English. It's about using what time you do have instead of waiting for the perfect moment.
Exactly. Okay, here's another one. I've heard often, I'm too old to learn a new language. What do you think about this one, Sophia?
Oh, this one is such a myth. The reality is, you're never too old. In fact, studies show that adults often learn more efficiently than children because they can apply logical thinking and real-life experience to their learning. I've seen people start at 50 or 60 and become fluent. Age is not a barrier. Mindset is.
Absolutely. And it's about shifting your focus from I'm too old to I'm experienced and motivated. Use that experience to your advantage. Set goals, track your progress, and celebrate each milestone.
Yes. Another big one is, I'm not good enough to start speaking. People think they need to be at a certain level before they can begin.
Oh, this is one of the biggest misconceptions. The only way to get better at speaking is by speaking. You don't need a big vocabulary or perfect grammar to start. Just begin with what you know, even if it's basic. If you wait until you feel ready, you'll never start.
Exactly. And think of it like learning to ride a bike. You're going to wobble and fall a few times, but every time you get back up, you get a little better. The same goes for speaking English. You learn by doing.
Right. So, to everyone listening, no more waiting for the right time, no more perfectionism, no more limiting beliefs. Start where you are, use what you have, and build from there.
Yes. And if you catch yourself making these excuses, ask yourself, what if I did the opposite? What if, instead of saying I can't, you said I can try? What if you turned I'm afraid into I'm brave enough to give it a shot? Shifting your mindset is the first step to eliminating these excuses.
Absolutely, Sophia. So take a moment right now and identify which excuse has been holding you back. Write it down, acknowledge it, and then flip it into a positive action. And remember, progress happens outside the comfort zone. So push yourself a little each day and those excuses will lose their power.
Wow, what a conversation. We've covered a lot today, Adam. From identifying the root causes of fear to sharing strategies, mindset shifts, practical exercises, and even tackling common excuses. It's been a jam-packed episode.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest takeaway here is that overcoming the fear of speaking English isn't about becoming perfect. It's about taking small, consistent steps forward, embracing your mistakes, and celebrating the progress you make along the way.
Exactly. Fear only has power if you let it. The moment you decide to take action, even if it's just speaking a few sentences each day, you're already starting to break that fear down. And remember, you're not alone. Every English speaker you admire was once in your shoes, feeling nervous and unsure, but they pushed through it, and so can you.
Yes, and don't underestimate the power of mindset and self-belief. As we've said throughout this episode, the journey starts in your mind. If you shift your thinking from I can't to I'm learning, you'll be surprised at how quickly fear turns into confidence.
And don't forget to enjoy the process. Learning a language is like unlocking a new world. It's full of discovery, growth, and new opportunities. So, focus on the experience rather than just the destination.
Exactly. So, to all our listeners, whether you're just starting out or looking to push through to the next level, Keep challenging yourself, stay consistent, and don't let fear hold you back. You're capable of so much more than you think.
We believe in you. Take the first step today. Whether it's speaking to yourself in the mirror, starting a conversation with someone, or just saying hello to a stranger. Remember, each time you speak, you're one step closer to the confident English speaker you want to be.
So go out there and own your English journey. And as always, if you found this episode helpful, share it with someone else who might need a little motivation to overcome their own fear. Let's support each other and build a community of fearless English speakers.
Yes, and we'd love to hear your thoughts and stories. Have you faced any of the fears we talked about? What strategies worked for you? Drop us a comment, send us a message, or connect with us on social media. We're here to cheer you on every step of the way.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Keep practicing, stay positive, and remember, every time you use English, you're growing and getting better. Until next time, keep speaking, keep learning, and keep shining.
We'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.